Hi there folks, this is Matt with BoulderFountain.com. Today we're just going to be going over some tips and tricks we've learned installing the Cornerstone 6 stack. Also kind of how to manage water loss and excessive splash. Just for the purpose of this video, we're going to pretend that the basin has already been installed. This does come with a 4x4 basin. So the basin's already installed. You've got it's leveled, you've got your grate, screen, cinder blocks, pump and hose in there already. It's ready to go. Once you have your basin installed, first thing you want to do when installing the 6 stack is locate your boulders, identify your boulders, see which one's which. On the 6 stack, 7 stack, one's about that high. You'll have 2 of these large bottom boulders. They are much larger than the rest. They're going to go down first. It's the easiest way to identify those. All the ones in the middle, they really don't matter. You can kind of stagger them, put them where you want. And then the top one has to be on top. Now all these boulders have a hole in the middle. That's for the hose to run up through them. So we actually have a hose run all the way up and then it connects into this very top rock. You'll know it's the top rock. Best way to identify this one, it's the only one with a PVC pipe in the hole. So it's got a hole in the center of this. The top rock's going to be the only one with the PVC pipe. We'll grab the camera and show you that up close here in a few minutes. So once you have your boulders identified, go ahead and set that biggest one. Again, that's the bottom one. Set that one down, run your hose up through it. If you've got a plume light, the easiest way to do that is to run the plume light just up at the same time as the hose. It is large enough to fit the cord for that plume light and the hose up at the same time. After that, you're pretty much just going to repeat that process. Move on to the second one, run the hose up. If you've got a light, run the light up through there as well. Move on to your 3rd, 4th, 5th, however many you have. Once you get to the top one, that's where you're going to make your hose connection. So you'll just flip that one up. Either stick your plume light in there, connect the hose, or just stick your fitting in there. It'll be a barb fitting, and then connect your hose that way. A couple different things we like to help manage splash, manage water loss. Anytime you get onto these stacked rocks, these aren't too bad. Like the larger Virginia 5 stacks, California 4 stacks, the larger stacked rocks, we like to incorporate what we call a rubber liner install. It does work for the cornerstones. If you want a little bit more water action, it works for that as well. Basically what that does is it incorporates this 4x4 basin that we have here already. What you'll do, just bury that a little bit farther, and then you'll put the dirt, kind of place some dirt around the sides. What you're doing, you're kind of trying to slope the soil back into the basin. Then you'll spread your rubber liner out on that. That way anything that falls out here will be falling back into the basin. Basically just extend your footprint out a couple of feet. Gives you a lot more area to work with. That way you catch all that water. If you'd like a full video tour of that, you can find that on our information page of our website. And that'll kind of take you step by step through how to install a rubber liner with this. Right now I'll grab the camera, show you up close. There's a couple different things we have learned when dealing with splash. First thing I always like to do, I go out and install these on the side. Trust me, I've done a lot of them. The very first thing I do once I get this up and running, your basin's full of water, pump's plugged in, you'll need to do the final shimming. You haven't done that yet, but before you do any of that, just take a walk around it. Make sure any of that water, or none of that water, is not spilling directly outside the basin. This is an example right here. So this right here is the edge of your basin, and you can see that water is falling very close to it. Now we did that on purpose. You won't want to do that on your end. We just did that so you can see it in the video. What I would do, if you look on this front side, there's really not a whole lot of water coming over there. So you can either just shim this back end up. You'll put some shims in there, kind of like you see right here. We use flagstone. A lot of times we'll use plastic composite shims as well. We're just using this flagstone because we needed something a little bit thicker. But you can either shim it up, or what I would probably do in this situation, just push the whole thing forward some. That way you're getting this drip edge away from the edge of the basin. You're not going to lose water that way. One other thing to keep in mind, anytime you have water falling from a high surface like this back here, that's falling all the way down. Anytime you have water falling from a high surface and hitting a flat rock like that, or a flat surface of any kind, it's really going to splash. It's going to hit the flat surface, break that water up, and it's just going to jump like crazy. One thing you can do, take a couple of pebbles, throw them on there, and that really helps with that. That's also just a matter of shimming. You can see on this one, that's just hitting the second rock down. That's only jumping down one rock. That's only jumping down one rock. Just something to keep in mind. So if you're going to do that, either have it fall directly on that next rock, or you can just have it come on the pebbles here. If it hits those pebbles, it's kind of going to diffuse that water, so to speak, and it won't splash quite as much. It'll only splash when it hits a flat surface, kind of like right there. Hope you can see that back there as well. We also do have an autofill option available. Let me set this camera down, I'll kind of explain that to you. So like I said, we also have an automatic fill option available. What that does, it mounts to the side of the basin. Basically just works like a miniature float valve on your toilet. When the water level drops, the valve will go down with it, or excuse me, the float will go down with it, and it's going to open that valve up automatically. That's going to start filling your basin. As your basin fills, the float's going to rise up and shut the valve off. You can have a full video of that. I think it's on our accessories page of our website. Take a look at that. It's a good video. Other than that, that's about it. I will show you one other tip we like to do. This is kind of a last resort, but it does work well. For lack of a better term, I like to call these cheater rocks. So what you'll do, anytime you have an area like this, if you can't move them or shim them, if you're really just stuck, what you can do, grab a flat rock, and just have it barely overhang the edge of that basin. So most of it's hanging off the outside. That way any water that might hit up here, give you a couple extra inches, it's just going to slide back down in there into the basin. You do want it to overhang this lip a little bit. That way it won't follow the rock back under. But that's just kind of a helpful hint we've learned. Just one thing I forgot to mention in the previous video, another great way to minimize water loss and too much splash is just turn that pump down. Most of the pumps we send are actually going to have a dial on the pump itself. If it does not have one, we're going to send it with a ball valve. So just cut the flow on that pump back. That'll help you to reduce extra water loss. If you have any questions, you can always give us a call, 540-948-2239.